This is
Make it plain.
MIP.
With Masamela Matsumo.
Mark Thompson. Get woke.
All right, folks, we are back once again as promised and happy to have with us from the Democratic Coalition our friend and brother Scott Dworkin. They've been doing a lot of work since Trump's election. That's when it came together, Democratic Coalition against Trump, very influential during the impeachment and otherwise. So a lot of those great ads that you have been seeing on Twitter that have gone viral, a lot of the hashtags that have gone viral have been the responsibility and have been because of the success of the Democratic Coalition, because of their work, and because of Scott Dworkin. Scott, how you feeling, man? You're not having an anxiety attack, are you? Oh, Scott, hold it. We got it. I didn't hear you. Let me try it again. Go right ahead. We didn't hear you at first. Go ahead.
I'm feeling technical difficulties. See, we just smoothly ignore that happens. It's a good day. I'm optimistic cautiously. I would just urge anyone that if you haven't voted, then you need to vote. That's the key thing. And my personal opinion is that you need to vote for Biden and Democrats all the way down the ballot. I think it's really telling that, maybe it takes something like a pandemic for people to realize how important their vote is, or maybe they're stuck at home and they wanted to get out of their parents' house, so they want to go vote. I don't care. But a lot of people have voted, which is really encouraging. I hope that there's a great turnout today on top of that. Right now, we've seen a lot less voter intimidation than had been expected. So as of right now, things are going a lot smoother than we had expected. I think that a lot of this is, again, smoke from Trump to try and act like something big is going down, that he has all these supporters, and it just doesn't exist. There's a random guy in Brooklyn screaming at people right now, and he just got escorted out. So people are, they were laughing at the person who was trying to intimidate them, and videotaping him at the same time, and they were doing it right. They weren't trying to fight or taking it too seriously. So things are looking good right now, but I would urge everybody to not look back in 12 hours and wonder whether you could have done more.
No, you're right. People shouldn't be. Folks, now is the time to do it. And if you know you've already voted and you've got loved ones, check on them. Mm-hmm. Make sure that they voted and gone out. So that's a good sign. You think it may be smoke and mirrors. You don't think he's really got something up his sleeve tonight, or can we anticipate what it might be?
I think legal challenges. I think that they're going to challenge in places where it doesn't even qualify for a recount. They're going to try and get one. Anything to extend time for them. They want it to be longer. No matter what Trump is saying, he doesn't want it to actually end on election night. But he just wants to, quote unquote, win in his way. So if he can drag it out, if he's lost by a landslide, if he can drag it out as long as possible, then people start to doubt that Biden win. If he were to somehow win, most people in this country are going to assume that he cheated, which he did. And so we would have to have a new election, in my opinion.
But what he's trying to do is plant the notion that if Biden wins, it's cheating. One of the things, and this is the collective fault of everyone, everyone over the years has led the electorate to believe, Scott, that it actually ends on election night.
Oh, right.
People don't think and not really aware. They don't really follow the certification process, the mail-in ballots, the military overseas ballots. And I think people are realizing now that was a big mistake, because now he's able to say, oh, it's got to stop tonight. It's got to stop tonight.
Right.
The irony of it is, though, I love what John Oliver calls him, stupid Watergate. A lot of Republican mail-in ballots in there.
Right.
You don't cut them off, fool. Those are your people. As a matter of fact, I heard there were even 7 counties in Pennsylvania. He's tripping about Pennsylvania. There are like 7 exclusive or overwhelmingly Republican counties in Pennsylvania. So when he's running around saying don't count, fool, some of those votes are yours.
Right. And you don't want to assume much in this case, because whenever I see people abuse the legal system like this, it always comes back to bite them, especially in elections. So if they keep on attacking from every corner, judges get a little pissed off and they know that you're abusing the court system, and they're not going to let you do it because they don't want to become the source of the next controversy. And they also don't want to be responsible for an election shifting or shaping something, because that pressure can lead to their resignation or the end of their career. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how far they're willing to go. I'm not sure who actually would be willing to go out there and start challenging different secretaries of state or governors, especially a lot of them being Republicans. He's going to run around and say that there's voter fraud everywhere. Well, then people are going to start calling for the Republican Secretary of State's resignation. Why would a governor? So he's not thinking about what he's actually saying. My guess is that the decision won't be tonight in regards to whether or not we're going to have Biden as president. But I do believe that we will know about the Senate tonight.
I'm gonna come back to the Senate, but that's an interesting point you raised, Scott, because at the end of the day, if people know the Titanic is sinking, they're trying to get off the boat. So if I'm a Secretary of State or if I'm a prominent attorney, I'm gonna think, well, wait a minute, do I really want my name attached to some foolishness? Because I need to be employable and relevant after him. It's kind of like when people were saying, oh, what if the military and the Secret Service supports him and not leaving? Military and Secret Service people, men and women, have spouses, and they have house notes and college tuitions and car notes. When it gets down to the nitty gritty, wait a minute, do I really want to hitch my future to this wagon? Another thing too, Scott, there are schools of thought that even when it comes to the Supreme Court, if you have the threat or ultimatum of expanding the court, not packing, y'all, that's mainstream media misnomer. They packed the court. We didn't. We're not going to do that. If that is out there in the atmosphere, that might actually temper Roberts and the court itself. Say, hold up, y'all. Don't do anything that will give people a reason to expand us to 12 or 15. Isn't that a slight political calculation and possibility too?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you've seen him do it over the years. I think he used an opinion about tax law in regards to Obamacare, and there's been people have surprised me on the Supreme Court before, and as everybody else. And so I'm not sure exactly if Coney Barrett is going to be the person who wants to come in and be like, oh, my entire job, like my legacy is removing Obamacare with no plan to replace it. So that's why, with the Supreme Court, we can worry less about it if we are able to win tonight, hold the House, win the Senate, and win the White House. And I don't think, what I believe is that we have to do what's best for the people, no matter what it is. Where's the internet in the Constitution? You know what I mean? Like where there's obviously not going to be. Back in the day, they didn't know that the internet would exist. They didn't know that we needed to have some sort of responsibility around it and laws around it. And so we need to kind of update archaic things in our country and not act like we need to rely on people who were slave owners hundreds of years ago. You see what I'm saying? Like I get what they're saying. Yeah, the founders, great, whatever. But we're here and we know the path. We know what's right and wrong. And even those guys back in the day, I don't think that they'd agree with nobody, having affordable health care, us not spending the money on our citizens, and us letting people rot and starve to death. It's just not, this is not America right now. This is not the American dream. American dream is people living safely, working a job, and being able to experience a family life and as happy as possible without the fear of going bankrupt because they have a heart attack.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And obviously, the Second Amendment didn't contemplate gun violence. My son had a routine checkup at the doctor's office yesterday, and I didn't want anybody to see me take a picture of it, but on the phone in the doctor's office, in the room where you see the doctor, all of that, the patient rooms, it had a sticker on it, Scott. I'd never seen this anywhere else. This was at NYU. It said, if there's an active shooter, call 911. I mean, that's the era we living in now.
Right.
You got stuff, notices for what to do if there's an active shooter. Right. That was not in 1789. I mean, the only active shooter might have been, somebody, a British loyalist, but right. I don't even think there was reports of them showing up, just shooting everybody, spraying everybody at random, mass shootings. But no, you're right. We need to, and since you brought the subject of slavery, electoral college, Scott, that in and of itself, I mean, how much longer are we going to allow ourselves? We're anxious because of that. If this was just a straight up and down vote, we would already know. We'd already go to bed now.
Right.
We go to bed early. It's daylight saving time.
Right.
How much longer are we going to allow the electoral college and a system built on slavery to govern how we function?
It doesn't make any sense whatsoever to stay down the path of the electoral college, because it's not representative of the actual United States of America. It's representative of the rich white dudes of America. It's not something that's equitable to anyone. And so you can't have just a bunch of elitists running the country like that. We need to have actual people that are choosing who votes. So the popular vote is the way to go. And there's no argument for the electoral college nowadays that actually makes any sense about us living in a democracy. The only way that would work is a popular vote. And so electoral college, I've never really cared for it. And then also, who are the people, who are the Americans, the average Americans out there that are like, we need to hold on to electoral college. We shouldn't have the popular vote win. Give me a break. Nobody's saying that. Nobody's pushing. He's acting like there's this magical mob of people that are angry. We want to save Christmas and electoral college. No, they don't exist. It's a fantasy land. It's living with Antifa that he made up, the boogeyman, which he tried to, this is why we haven't mentioned the resistance that much. He tried to tie Antifa to the resistance to try and make the resistance Antifa. And he doesn't realize that the resistance is, majority of it is it's Democrats. And so it's an easy translation to like Biden instead of talking about things like the resistance in general. But so I think we've got a ways to go. It's going to be interesting to see if we can pull ourselves out of the electoral college kind of system. And again, like, why does it exist? Like, it doesn't need to be there. And again, there's no, besides holding on the power that is not representative of the United States of America, that's the only reason I see anybody would want to hold on the electoral college. Like, and that would be Republicans that can't win without cheating. And that's what they're trying to do here. Is it's just another way of cheating. They're using it in that way, and that's why we kept it for so long.
Let me be an intellectual devil's advocate for a moment. The only thing that I can't resolve, though, as much as electoral college needs to go, there's an argument that without it, national candidates would just avoid the smaller cities and states and just go to the most populous ones to campaign. So, I mean, to some extent they do that already, but who's going to go to Iowa anymore? Who's going to go to New Hampshire anymore? What would be your reaction to that argument? Because that's the only one I can see. When I've heard people from those places say, well, nobody will come and campaign with us, Mark, if that happens.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I think, first of all, the election season should be like 3 months long, and they shouldn't be able to campaign outside of that. So that should rid of that problem. I don't think that it's of consequence versus having the popular vote versus having someone be able to meet the candidate. I think with technology, it's become less essential for that. But obviously, it's really, really crucial for a candidate to get in front of people. I don't think it would end that kind of American backyard kind of thing with the farmland. But I think that's part of the fantasy land. I think that's part of, where we need to go out to the field. Yeah, you do. You need to experience that. You need to know that. And that's part of being a candidate. And if you don't, and you don't present that self, and you're not showing up for that, those people will notice. And so you'll pay for it eventually if you don't campaign in those states. People would have to change how they do things. They probably would have to visit, they'd want to visit other states that like Idaho, places would be in play that they would never have visited before. And so I think it would really open things up actually more in reverse. And so, again, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, the whole point of this is for us to be able to choose who represents us. And that's why we have, right now, we have a bunch of cheaters who are rich white dudes holding everything up. And you got to wonder, like, why wouldn't you give money to the American people so that they can survive? But you're going to wait till after the election to do it? Why wouldn't you do it now? Oh, you got to get Supreme Court justice through? Why? Right. In the courts. Anyways, so it's really baffling. I think it'll be part of the peaceful revolution that hopefully will happen starting tonight. And so that if we spoke loudly at the polls, and we can overcome their interference in our elections, then we'll be able to accomplish things like that in a sweeping sort of New Deal, and that should be part of it, along with things like Puerto Rico and DC statehood, things that need to catch up, like some house cleaning, basic house cleaning. Make sure that everybody has affordable healthcare overall. Make sure that we have jobs here, we make stuff here. The basics. Raise the minimum wage to above $15, even more in big cities. It's very simple stuff. People need to be able to live. And we also need to have it so people are not on pins and needles all the time. So dreamers in this country need to just be let in. Like, they're here. They've been here for years. They're productive members of society. Let's stop playing games with them. Same thing with every member of the military. Anybody who's in the military right now, active duty especially, and veterans as well that have been working on it, they deserve to be a part of this country officially. And I think that there's a lot of these things that we can clean up, and that's what hopefully Biden would do. And I think for those people who are not supporting Biden yet or undecided, think about, if you're not a fan of Biden, think about who Biden would appoint, think of who Biden would hire, and think of the fact that Senator Kamala Harris would be in there for real. He would not, I know the senator would never have taken that gig unless, she was reassured the fact that she'd have actual input. She'd be able to do real policies and work with the Senate and the House on developing real plans and moving forward to fight the coronavirus and defeat it. It's going to be, think about those people who would be hired, because it'd be people like me and you and that get hired by this White House, not Stephen Miller and Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump. And I think that's just a cataclysmic difference. Another thing is, if we can pound that vote in tonight, I think one thing that people need to realize about it that I can't fathom yet, so maybe it's going to be hard for others to grasp. If Trump loses tonight and it's overwhelming and it's there, his irrelevance is so quick. He disappears into the night, because people will just so yeah, he's a cause, he's a symptom, not a cause. He's not actually the whatever. It's not the root of the problem, but it's a lot of the problem. It's a lot of the problem. So we're going to keep on fighting, but this is kind of like the end of a marathon, and you're not sure if there's a triathlon after it, but you're prepared if there is. So no matter what, I'm going to be back at work tomorrow, and Thursday and Friday. And I'm not sure when we'll get returns in, and I'm not sure where they'll try to throw out ballots or there will be fraud, but we're going to fight as hard as we can in legal ways and peaceful ways. And we're going to keep on pushing. I think that very clearly, I've never seen any candidate, including Obama, people this energized to vote. And again, it's different than 2008 because I think we've seen people die in front of us, myself, and we've experienced illness. And this is not normal times. And I think people need to realize the president's words and actions matter. Everything they do matters. And we can be saving lives and not, not being compared to Nazis. You know what I mean? And that's where we're at. Is we have a dude whose negligence is killing people, and it's spreading the virus even more. 30,000 people stemming from his rallies have contracted the virus, and at least 700 have died. And that's only to the end of September. So you have to imagine that number is going to triple, quadruple. So it's thousands of people that have died due to his rallies. I mean, the amount right now, we're still that trauma period of like not realizing exactly how hard we've been hit by this virus, not realizing that we're in the midst of it, and that Obama probably would have shut down an entire state if there were a few dozen cases of it, and they would have locked down those people to make sure that they were better and revived. They wouldn't let it spin out of control like this, because this is madness, and it can actually literally destroy our entire country. So I know that's different from the Electoral College, but I'm very hopeful for tonight. But I don't think America is prepared for how overwhelming this vote may be, and that's okay, because the one thing I guess I know is that we couldn't have worked harder. We've done everything, left everything on the table. On the field, and we were no regrets, no change anything. We took the path we did, and I think it's the best that we could have done. And I think everybody should be proud of that. And again, no matter what happens, we're going to keep on fighting because it's the right thing to do. So sorry about it.
No. That's fine, and it's welcome. You mentioned the Senate. Mm-hmm. What are your predictions, Mark? Let's go through. Tell me, Mark Kelly.
Win.
Okay.
By a landslide, and I think
really? By landslide. Okay.
Yeah,
he's sworn in right away, right?
Landslide to me is 4 points. Like, so I'm a political guy, so 4 points to me is a landslide. So I think he's insanely popular, but even more is Gabby, his wife Gabby Giffords is insanely popular, and it's just he'd be a better leader. I mean, who doesn't want to hire the astronaut?
Right. John Ossoff.
I think that Warnock has a better chance, just based on how things are set up. And how so he also has more money, but he's still seen as that like outsider. They luckily teamed up, so I think I've worked in Georgia a lot. That's going to be probably too close to call, and then they'll try and cheat it away. But we won't likely know the results of that race until January. And that's my guess, that there'll be a runoff, and then it has to be. So I'm guessing we won't know until January, but it won't be what defines whether or not the Democrats win back the Senate. Is my belief.
Gary Peters.
Win. I think that's when I spoke with a person who's like an aunt to me, and she lives in her 70s and lives in a suburb in Michigan. And she said is a Republican. She said that when she did learn about the governor's kidnapping and murder plot against her, and how Trump incited that, and then he attacked her the day that it was revealed, that was enough for her and everybody in her inner circle and everybody around her. And so I just think that was beyond the pale, and they did not forget that. I think also bigger cities in Michigan are going to turn out heavy. So we'll see how it goes, but I think Peters is going to run away with it there. The challenger wasn't very good either. So, and Peters is like a well-rounded, great deal maker, passing bipartisan bills. Like, he's very accomplished. So I think he'll run away with it there. If it's closer, I'd be surprised if it's closer than 3 points. Again, that to me, 3 points is again close to a landslide in what's supposed to be a close election.
Sarah Gideon.
Right, 10 points. I mean, I would assume that she's going to win by a landslide. That's like embarrassing for Collins. Mainers don't. Everybody I've spoken with as friends, and they don't seem to be very keen on her going back and forth and flip flopping.
Right.
So I would guess that there's going to be a big Gideon win. Also, Gideon, keep in mind, has a big statewide presence in the legislative chamber already. So her name recognition is up there with Collins. So
right.
I think Gideon has this. I think she's going to win. I think that's almost. I'm not going to say sure bet, but I would say that if I guessed the first one to be called, it'd be that race.
Okay. Jamie Harrison.
So I mean, that's one of my favorite ones because I think people underestimate the power of Charleston white Republicans who hate Lindsey Graham, but also the African American turnout in the state has been phenomenal. I think he's got a real shot. I think it'll be close, and I think it won't be decided tonight. But I think he eventually will pull it out, and that'll be like one of the bigger upsets of this election cycle, is taking down Lindsey Graham.
Okay. Mike Espy.
Oh, I think that's my upset alert. That's it's been one of my favorite races in the country, because you have on one side one of the biggest racists in America, who joked about lynching and grotesque stuff that's not fit of any office across the world, and you have Espy, who's an amazing leader, a visionary, and a person who can actually lift people up and cares about people and is genuine, has a great track record of it. Of leadership. And so I think if you have the underdog part, like I would say that'd be a surprise win to people, but to me, it wouldn't be that much of a surprise. I think it'd be another sort of Doug Jones-like Alabama situation, where turnout exceeds, means where they don't even level off with Republican versus Democratic vote. Republicans think they have it in the bag because it's Mississippi, and then Democrats, actually show up in high numbers, and maybe not even Democrats, but African American voters and white voters in Mississippi. I've seen a lot of people, trial lawyers and whatnot, that have a lot of pull in Mississippi, pushing for Espy as well. People are really hungry for people that tell the truth and have conviction and stand by it. One of the things that's lifted up all the Senate candidates is that they haven't had to campaign away from Biden. They haven't had to say, I'm not supporting, Biden. I have to say, he has to kind of go in the back seat. They're like, I'm back. I'm proud to endorse Joe Biden. And then they defend them. They defend him as well. And he's been an asset to their campaigns and not a destructive force. And the addition of Senator Harris has just been wonderful as well. But Espy is my favorite in regards to like an upset, just a big upset surprise. I think that is really something to keep an eye on. And if it's even close within 5 points, it's extraordinary. But I think he could pull it out because people just don't know about the turnouts. But we'll know again that we'll know probably about that. Pretty soon, in a few hours, I guess, 8 hours.
If it were not a pandemic, and I could say somewhere you and Grant and I could just go today for the last pullout or the last weekend, I would say let's go to Mississippi and let's just tell Mike he is right there. What he told me, see, because he took her to a runoff before. He said if he can get just 3% more of the white vote, and he thinks he can get it by virtue of the fact it was the white college students that got that doggone flag taken down after George Floyd. Now, how long we've been trying to get that Confederate flag out of Mississippi? Right. They did it overnight.
Right.
He thinks that's who he can pull. She literally, there have been stories about it, stopped campaigning.
Right.
Because she knew it'd be better for her just to go in hiding and deal with the name recognition.
Right.
If we can elect the first black senator from Mississippi since Reconstruction, that'd be as big, if not bigger, than electing the first black president. So that would just be another source of, rejoice. I mean, you rejoice from that. The world will rejoice when Susan Collins goes down. You talking about, I had an idea. The last Women's March, when they were going to have another big one, I said, y'all should have the Women's March in Maine. And they were like, it's too cold to march in Maine in January. I said, but it would be so great Susan Collins would be finished. But nobody listened to me. But look, we got a surprise guest joining us because we want to hear about Florida. He is, we have deputized him to deliver Florida. If the Democrats don't win Florida, it will be this gentleman's fault. Put his number in the chat and everything, so you all can know that. Remember this name, Grant Stern. Grant, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
Thanks for inviting me, Mark. I'm doing really well. How about yourself?
I'm good. You see your cohort here, Scott. I figured let me just get you on here because I was about to ask Scott what he thought about Florida. Is that what does it look like, folks? Is that where we look first? Is this thing done tonight if Florida calls in early?
Well, if Florida calls it early, it is probably over for Trump. And there's a good chance of that happening. If it's not close, we'll know pretty quickly. Florida's results get reported immediately for the early voting and the vote by mail ballots. They're already tabulated. The results are just not being released right now. So the election supervisors already have the count. They already have the ballots, and it's all sitting there waiting for the 7 o'clock. Right. As soon as the polls close, they can start reporting those results. And considering what I am seeing out there in Miami-Dade right now and what we're seeing in a lot of locations, I think it's going to be an early night. And I'm going to tell you why if you got a couple minutes.
Please, no, we got time. We roll it. We don't
mind. Okay, so Scott and I are senior advisors to the National Election Defense Coalition, in addition to all the other hats we wear. Okay. And on the fly, we put together a team of documentary filmmakers in 5 different cities, all battlegrounds: Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, Florida, and Philadelphia. So we've got teams on the ground seeing what is happening, documenting the story. We don't know what the story is going to be when we get out there, just documenting the story. And most of my work leading the team in Miami, as well as, I'm like organizing the bigger team, but I'm leading the Miami team because that's where I'm at. And most of my work is just figuring out where are people voting, because we've gone to a lot of polling places and they're pretty quiet. Even some of the more urban ones that we would expect to be a little bit more busy. Right. So we've canvassed probably a dozen polling places throughout Miami-Dade County, and we've only found one with moderate activity and one with significant activity. It's one of the most dense areas south of Manhattan, so it's not surprising that particular polling location is that busy. And we're going to go out there and look for the late rush, but the early morning lines that you would expect, the early morning lines that we saw in 2018. In 2018, the blue wave was distinctive because you saw lines of Democrats at the polls at 6 a.m. waiting to vote on election day. That crowd has not materialized, and that means that whatever is going to happen, it's going to happen a little bit later. In Florida and in most places, if you're in line, you can vote. So if you get into a line, don't worry about it. Just get out there and vote. You can do it. You can still, of course, drop off your vote by mail ballot. But all of the action, in-person voting, we're expecting to see later in the afternoon after people get off work and realize that today is their last chance. But I'm not hearing a lot of stories of super long lines, even in places like Georgia, where you expect the longest lines.
But could that be because so many people have already early voted?
That's correct. Yes. So many people have early voted and voted by mail that now there's a significant amount of capacity for people to vote today at the polls. And I want to share one story that we captured and we're going to start producing and put out sometime after 3 o'clock. I'll give you a little sneak preview for the Make It Plain audience only. Okay. So, we chose our locations and we sent our first crew of the day to Miramar, which is the largest majority African-American city in Florida. Miramar is, Miami Gardens, actually, I'm sorry. The two areas are next to each other, Miramar and Miami Gardens, and we sent them to Miami Gardens. And they went to the polling place, and there's a lot going on. There was people voting still. It was around 9 in the morning, 9:30 in the morning when they got there. And they met a gentleman who gave them an interview, who told them that he had been in jail for 12 years. He had been a felon. He had done his time. He had paid his debt to society. And only yesterday did he find out that he was eligible to vote. And he went to the polls today.
Wow.
So, the reason why we collect these kind of anecdotes is to show that this is the real impact of all of what people are seeing in the news. This is the real impact of these legal battles. And this is the real kind of impact that it's causing on the ground when people are not sure if they can vote because there's so much red tape. And it shows the extraordinary lengths that people have to go through to get registered and to go vote. And it also shows that, this election is going to be decided today, not just because of the early ballots, but today there is going to be, a vote cast as well. And I mean, I think that it's great that we're there to document these stories. I can't wait to get a download from the team about what they saw in downtown Miami's Brickell neighborhood, and it's going to be exciting to publish these stories.
So the story of the man who just found out yesterday, you're gonna post that later too?
Yes, we're gonna post that to @DefendElections.
Okay.
Everybody should follow @DefendElections.
@DefendElections. You all follow that. You retweet it. Scott, what are your thoughts about Florida?
Well, a federal judge just ordered the USPS to be sweeped in every facility for mail ballots to make sure that they get there in time. Judge Sullivan really got us.
I like Judge Sullivan.
My
good.
My main contact in Florida is Grant, so I that's the person I trust most of my Florida knowledge. But I got family in Boca and across the state in a few cities. But I've worked in Florida for 15 years now, and I've never been able to predict anything. I've been through all the different ringers there. In 2006, I was running the fundraising operation for a congressional, Christine Jennings, which was Catherine Harris's seat. Vern Buchanan eventually won it. I think he won by 360 votes in a congressional district. I think 16,000 votes went missing in the most heavy part of the inner city, like Sarasota itself. Electronic voting machines, and it was all screwed up. But what I've learned from that is that I don't think I never trust Florida polling. Everybody else in the Panhandle, I assume that they're going to turn out in droves for him. I never count on Florida for anything in regards to anything. So I mean, I don't think that it's going to be. I don't think it's competitive, but I also don't think Pennsylvania is competitive for Trump. It's kind of weird how they see things this way, but it's. I guess Florida, in my eyes, is multiple states like California is, and so that's you have Georgia over here, and then you have more like a North Carolina, Virginia vibe over here, and Miami's more of like a New York City vibe.
Well, you really generically you have North and South Florida. South Florida goes from Tampa through Orlando and then south, and then everything north of that is the northern areas, and things are pretty different once you get like past that region, but the I-4 region is very purple, although it's trended significantly blue over the last several years. But let me give you this nugget. Okay, this I think explains what's going on in Florida better than anything else, because Florida is a story of migration, and always has been and always probably will be. People are always moving to Florida, and then some people are leaving, but people are moving here, and they've tended to balance each other out. Actually, a lot of New Yorkers have moved from New York down to South Florida, as Scott noted, over the last decade. But a lot of people who are, conservative and Trump supporters have moved to the Villages, which is a large area. Like, it's not even like a city. It's just like a city with like suburbs. It's a weird exurb thingamabob. I just can't even describe it really. But it encompasses multiple counties, and it's got a fast growing population of more conservative voters. Statewide, with millions of ballots cast. There's 100,000 vote margin between ballots cast by Democrats and ballots cast by Republicans. And that 100,000, it's 105,000 statewide. The margin in Miami-Dade County, where we're filming today and where I'm located, is 100,000 of those 105,000 ballots. So it really tells you where the race is. It's happening right here in Miami-Dade. This has always been the swing county because of its unique demographics and its highly political, like the higher level of political activity you have from national figures here. There's a lot of unusual dynamics going on. Miami voted 65-35 in favor of Hillary Clinton in the 2016 election. And for reference, Los Angeles County voted 71% to 29%. So that tells you that, it really, it's an eye opener. This is like a big blue island in a sea, and then, the further north you go, the more red it gets, and so that's why we're watching what's happening so closely here. I think everybody that's interested in the election should take a few minutes, if they have time this afternoon, or if they want to do it tomorrow or whenever, if you care about this stuff. Check out the documentary by Billy Corben. It's called 537 Votes. It's on HBO right now. And it tells you the story of the 2000 election and the recount, Bush versus Gore. And that's very much a Miami story. And that's what we're looking to capture here. If something like that were to happen, we're really, as vigilant as possible. Of course, trying to prevent something like that from happening. And that's one of the reasons why I started litigation against Miami-Dade County on behalf of, or the NEDC started litigation on behalf of me as a journalist, to uncover what was really going on regarding early vote site selection and the American Airlines Arena. And it's just been, it's one of those things. The elections officials know that we're being vigilant. The county officials know that we're being vigilant. And we believe that that kind of oversight, that vigorous oversight, shows them that this is not the time to mess around, because we are watching.
Not at all. Meanwhile, Scott, as we go, what's going on with Grant's beard?
You should have seen my mullet, which is.
You got a mullet?
I had a powerful mullet. It was legendary, and one of our team members had I guess I was mullet man at the moment.
Oh my God!
But yeah, I mean, Grant's our wizard, and he's got to have a beard that reflects that.
Call him a wizard. Wait a minute. So that's the color your beard is coming in right now?
That is the color of my beard, yes. If it was short, it would be gray here and dark here. Yeah, that's.
Wow. So is it wizard? Are you going for the wizard look or the John Brown look? I prefer the John. I prefer Warlock, actually. But he don't pick either one, Scott. He picks Warlock. Okay. I was hoping you go for the John Brown, man. That's what we need. We need some more John Browns out here.
John Brown
look, appreciate you guys, all the hard work you've been doing. These guys stay on Twitter. They really know how to use it for what it's worth. A lot of folk using Twitter for the wrong thing, and they have figured out some ways to offset what some of the other people have been doing on Twitter. These brothers are legitimate, and that's very, very important. And we need some legitimate voices in the midst of all of the trolling that's going on. So we'll see what happens in Florida and elsewhere. Really appreciate you guys. It's been fun. It's been fun working together. This won't be it. Because let's be honest, we got to continue to fight for democracy and justice, no matter who the president is. You know, having Biden in office gives us home field advantage, though. Right. It makes a little bit, you do a little bit better on your own home field.
Oh, sure.
You want to demand things. And that's really what this is all about. And I'm using that sports analogy specific to a lot of us stupid men who, you know, who can't think, and we think this dude, we folks out there chanting fire Fauci, crazy. And then black men running behind Lil Wayne and Lil Pump, insane. Okay, y'all get yourselves together, get out and vote. If you've already voted, contact your loved ones. All right, make sure they voted, make sure they're good. If you see some funny business at a polling site, don't do like some other folk who saw folks, Proud Boys with baseball bats at their polling site, called me and said, Mark, we got to do something. I said, did you film it? No. But what you got a cell phone for? Film it. If you see some funny business, film it. That's number one. Number two, if you see some funny business, memorize this number, folks. 866 our vote. Those are all the legal teams, all the civil rights organizations, all the prominent lawyers are in that pool, and they will help and assist if there's funny business where you are. For example, if you're in line and the polling time is closed, you're still supposed to be able to vote as long as you've gotten in the line. Don't let anybody lock you out. Call that number. Have your cell phone charged. Take a portable chair with you. Pack a lunch. All of that. All right. And we'll be good. Don't let Grant's beard scare you from going to the polls today. Okay. So please, this is not voter intimidation. That's not what this is. His beard. So listen, guys.
I think of it as encouragement to vote.
Yeah, it is. It is. Because
Mark, before we go, I just wanted to say thank you for stepping up when people did not, when people were scared to, when people didn't have the courage to. Thank you for being on the front lines for impeachment task force, also for removal, for amplifying the efforts of right versus wrong, and for the protests and speaking out. You're a true patriot. It's been an honor, marching beside you through this process. And I do look forward. The fight's not over, but this is a nice. I think we'll be pleasantly surprised tonight. It's because people like you.
Thank you, man.
And Mark, it's really been my honor to tweet so many of these posts and videos and work on all this stuff with you as well. It's been an incredible election, and you've been a huge part of it for myself and for the coalition.
Well, thank you, guys. It's been a pleasure working with you as well, folks. This is a team. These are some stalwarts, and it's good to have people. You need some people in your life that when something goes down and you need to go fight, you can call on them. And these are these guys. So if something's going to happen and y'all see me getting ready to go do something, you can probably count on these guys being on my left and my right. All right. We're going to get it done. So count on that. Love you guys. We'll pray for the best. We'll touch base a little later. Okay.
Sounds good.
All righty.
All right. Scott Dworkin and John Brown, Grant Stern. We appreciate it.
Have a happy election day.
All right.
Hope we have a happy result.
Bye-bye.